this point, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And the first thing is you can have a roll call.
Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Not present. Commissioner Banton.
Present.
Commissioner Boaz. Commissioner Bradley.
Present.
Commissioner Peoples.
Present.
Commissioner Reeves.
Here.
Commissioner Tenhouse.
Present.
Commissioner Vines. Commissioner Young.
Here.
And Chair Strather.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
We have a forum, very good. Just so the commissioners know, when we get ready to get your question and answer, I'll call on you two first, and then we'll go around the table at the appropriate time. First thing, item of business would be the approval of minutes from June 5th. They've been sent out. I hope everybody received them. Thanks for getting those out. I'll entertain any motions on the minutes. Move to approve. It's been moved and seconded. If we can have a vote for the approval of minutes from the June 5th, 2019 meeting.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Commissioner Banton.
Aye.
Commissioner Bradley.
Aye.
Commissioner Peoples.
Aye.
Commissioner Reese.
Aye.
Commissioner Tenhouse.
Aye.
Commissioner Vines.
Aye.
Commissioner Young.
Aye.
Chair Strather.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, very good. With that, we have some guests in the house. The first thing I'd like, just so we can know who they are, if they'd introduce themselves. Starting on my left and work our way down. J.P.
David Driver, FODC.
Steve Cranky, associated with Allen West.
Okay. Todd Eel, Crosswalk Hill. Dylan Mosier, I'm with the zoning office of the city. Roman Court.
Is that who it is? With that, if at any time you are speaking, we do ask you to speak up because we are recording this. First order of business on the agenda is number 4719, which the city will be doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The first action item on your agenda is for a rezoning petition for 1027 Geyer Avenue in City Block 396. It's the site of a popular and long-standing restaurant, bar, and grill called the Great Grizzly Bear, as well as some residential apartments and a currently vacant building. The parcel is currently dual-bound, C and G, and the exact location of the boundaries between each zone is unknown. So every once in a while we get these routine requests to review this sort of cleanup. The particular petition is being requested because the property owner is pursuing a subdivision, at which time the zoning administrator requested that they pursue a rezoning so that the boundaries of the zoning match the parcels. And as you can see, the parcel has two buildings, so the subdivision request is to rezone each of those parcels with the buildings. This is the proposed subdivision plat. Lot A at the front is proposed to be zoned G, Local Commercial District, while Lot B at the rear is proposed to be zoned B, Multiple Family Dwelling District. This is the current zoning map. As you can see, the parcel has both zoning designations. What happens in cases such as this, when the zoning is reviewing a building or an occupancy permit, they would enforce the most restrictive zoning on the parcel, which is the multiple family dwelling district, and it would not allow for the existing restaurant, bar, and grill. So by subdividing the parcel and rezoning to follow the parcel boundaries, the property owner can ensure that each parcel can continue to be used for its intended purposes in the future, and it would bring the property into conformity with the city's zoning code. So again, this is the proposed subdivision. You can see it's a very minor change. I'll give you some context pictures. This is a photo of the Great Grizzly Bear Restaurant, Bar, and Grill. The image on the left is the building at the rear that fronts the alley. It's the one that's on Lot B. It currently sits vacant, and the property owner is planning to renovate it. The image on the right is an image of the few homes that sit between the two buildings on the subject site. The image on the left here is the residential across Geyer from the Bar and Grill. And the image on the right is a single-family home with two side lot yards, catty corner to the Bar and Grill. The image on the left is a single-family residential building across Menard Street from the Bar and Grill, and the image on the right is a multifamily building north and across Menard Street. And then finally, the last image is a multifamily residential building just north of the subject site. The strategic land use plan designates this as neighborhood preservation area, which is defined as areas with existing housing and corner commercial building, which should be preserved and augmented with new and infill residential and corner commercial development, which is physically integrated and serves the immediate neighborhood. So given the property owner is aiming to preserve the existing corner commercial use and redevelop the existing residential building at the rear for residential use, staff does find that the request is in conformity with the strategic land use plan. Additionally, given that the request would bring the property in conformity with its intended and future use and eliminate the improper zoning designation, staff recommends approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and the petitioner is also available.
Well, first, I didn't take any questions from the commissioners on the phone. I believe the first is Commissioner Reese, are you on?
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Young, any questions from you?
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Bradley? No questions. Commissioner? All right, no questions. I'll entertain a motion on the item of 4719, or is it to accept the proposed changes?
I move to accept the proposed changes.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendations of 4719 and rezoning. Let's have a vote.
Alderman Boyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Banton?
Aye.
Commissioner Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Peoples? Commissioner Reese?
Aye.
Commissioner Tenhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Vines?
Aye.
Commissioner Young?
Aye.
Chair Strouser?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I think we'll pass that, let's call that record timing. Almost like the first goal of the Americans today, the Cup. So congratulations to the soccer team. With that, we'll also go now to 0119, which is the development plan, and Roman's going to be presenting that.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. This is a PUD development plan review for the Olive West PUD. We haven't had a development plan for a PUD in several years. So good to have this one back on the agenda. A PUD basically is an acronym for a Planned Unit Development District. It's one of the zoning overlay districts that's available in the city. And it offers a little bit more flexibility than the underlying zoning districts that we typically deal with from the A through L zoning districts. The site is about 5.2 acres in size. It consists of 28 parcels, and it's located along both sides of Olive Street, 37 to 3800 block of Olive Street, between Van Venner and Spring. And it also includes one parcel, Westminster Place, and is located in the Covenant Blue Grand Center neighborhood. The existing uses are 27 vacant lots and one vacant building. You can see that building towards the end of Van Venner there. And what's being proposed by this PUD is the construction of 27 single-family buildings, 17 of which would be located on the south side of Olive, 10 of which would be located on the north side of Olive. A 35-unit apartment building to be constructed at the corner, and the renovation of the existing building that's there. It would be used for a variety of different purposes. And the developer is Olive West Properties, LLC. Steve Trampy is one of the principals of the firm. He's here tonight. He'll make a brief presentation and will be available for questions as well. So since we haven't done one of these, let me just quickly run by how we've got here, what's happened so far, and what happens after tonight. The sketch plan for this PUD, you may remember, was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with one condition. That was back in January of this year. The HUD's committee conducted a public hearing later that month in January, recommended approval, and the Olive West PUD was established by ordinance in early May. The development plan, which was submitted by the applicant recently, is the large attachment that's included in your agenda packet. that was submitted by the developer, and we'll be reviewing that development plan tonight. And if it is approved, the applicant will be able to go forward and file for building permits, even though some of the various regulations of the underlying zoning district won't be adhered to. So this is an aerial photo of the site. It's shown within the red line. The photo is a couple of years old, so there's a few buildings here that are no longer present. The only building that's currently on the site is this one here. Again, 27 vacant lots, one vacant building. In terms of adjacent properties, this is the Kappa fraternity facility on Vanaventer. These are a mix of commercial and industrial properties along Washington Boulevard. An additional property that's owned by the developer that's not included in the PUD site. A parking lot that's affiliated with the AT&T building here. That parking lot is very rarely used. Here we've got a historic single-family building with a large side lot. Some residential buildings primarily here along Westminster. And I think that's pretty much it. Looking at it a little bit further out, this is Cardinal Ritter College Prep High School, the Grand Center Entertainment District to the east. To the south of Lindell is St. Louis University's campus, and to the west is the Central West End, and more specifically the Westminster Place development. This is the existing zoning map for the site. As you can see, it's Zone H, Area Commercial District. That's one of the more liberal zoning districts in terms of regulations. However, even with that, this proposed development project would have entailed quite a few variances in order for the development project to go forward, and that's why the applicant decided to request a planned unit development district for this particular site. Let me quickly run by what's on the site. This first parcel here is a photograph of a proposed bio-retention facility. You see there's still some work going on in terms of removing the foundation of a previous building, and that's that lone parcel that's located on Westminster Place. The photo in front of you is the corner of Vanaventer and Olive. Again, you can see that the foundation is probably dug out at this point. This is the site of the proposed 30-some-odd unit apartment building. This is a Wolfka building, a historic building, and work has actually begun on this particular project. It would be used for a number of different purposes, including 2 condo units on the upper floor, a club room, a fitness club, and some other social amenities. And since January, when the Planning Commission reviewed the sketch plan, the rear of this building was demolished due to its poor condition. So the current structure is just the front portion of that building. Moving westward, again, a lot of foundations have been dug out, so you basically just see dirt there. This is the south side of Olive Street. On the north side of Olive Street, again, one building was demolished in the sketch plan. A number of other vacant lots up on that north side. In terms of adjacent properties, the Kappa House is shown off to the left, the AT&T parking lot on the right, and this is the historic single-family building on the south side of Olive with a large side lot that would be immediately abutting the PUD site. These photos show the basic streetscapes along Washington and Westminster Place, looking further towards Grand Center and the Westminster Place development project. So this is the site plan that was approved by the sketch plan, by the ordinance that was passed, and it includes, as I mentioned before, 17 single-family buildings that are sort of interspersed on the south side of Olive Street. They're connected by various courtyards and amenity features. To the west is this Wolfka building that I mentioned had its rear demolished but is being partially renovated. This is the site of the apartment building, which at this point is still in a conceptual design stage. And these are 10 proposed single-family buildings on the north side of Olive. Large areas here are bioretention facilities. So this is the site plan that was included in the development plan, the packet that you had received, and largely the types of land uses as well as the building footprints are in conformity with what was included in the approved sketch plan. This is a lighting plan that was included in your packet. Included within that, you can see the existing city streetlights shown in blue, proposed pedestrian lighting in yellow, and some sensor lights in red, orange. This is the landscape plan that was included in your document. And by the way, some of these drawings are available for viewing on the side of the wall here. You can't make out some of those details. Included in this landscape plan is a legend showing the various species of trees and shrubs that are proposed in the development project. In the case of the bioretention facility on the south side, none of those trees or shrubs are proposed. On the western portion of the south side of Olive, you can see a few trees and shrubs. That's also on the south side, eastern portion of the south side of Olive. And no shrubs or trees are proposed on the northern side of Olive. And they want to ask the applicant later as to why some of those decisions were made. And these are the details with regards to that the three bioretention areas. This is the large one at Vanderbilt and Olive, and these are the two that are located along Olive Street, and the species of plants are included there in very fine print. In terms of the site plan itself, this is a blow-up showing the first four buildings that would be developed as part of this development project. These would be display homes designed by internationally renowned architects. And some renderings of those buildings are included on the wall. And with that, let me turn it over to Steve Trampy, who will talk about these four display homes, how they'll evolve into the remainder of the homes to be built, as well as talk a little bit about the apartment building and the Wolfner building.
Thank you. And let me just be sure, when you're speaking, there are people on the phone, so keep in mind that they're...
Oh, you don't have one up here.
Right, I'm just saying, I want it to also be realized of what you...
So, for those of you, we're going to kind of go through the basic part of the basic part. So, what we have is these are building pads. And so we want to do this like Columbus, Indiana, which has all these variety of architects from around the world doing commercial buildings. This is really done residentially. So we'd like to think we may end up with several dozen internationally prominent architects on both sides of the street. We'll see how it goes. But each of these, it's a building pad. And so of the first four display models, you can come in and you say, I'd like this house, and I'd like to be on this site. And so the houses vary from about 1,000 square feet, currently at about this two-story. We have one two-story model, about 2,200 feet. And so you can move around on this pad. So if you want to have your patio facing south, north, so there's a lot of flexibility of how you would place your house on this site. So it's somewhat unique too in that as we place these houses, we will each phase will have amenities based on what the people want. So we have a long list, I think, in the package of Some we already know we have. We have the swimming pool, we have the health club on the lower level of Wolfner, but we have an edible garden, and the rest will be, for instance, playground is one we talked about, that if we talk to the residents and we get to a point, they don't want a playground, we'll put a different sort of amenity in for them. And we have that ability because of the flexible nature of the staging of this. So the first 4 houses you see up here, now the one thing I would say is this architect is no longer working on the project. We could not, for both marketing and cost reasons, we could not make this one work. So we replaced that architect with Flora. You see that here. And we haven't, we've almost finished working drawings on these. We have not bid these out. So we're going to spend a lot more per square foot than typically you would building a house in the city, but we also can't, there's a point at which we can't do it. So if we find one house, either because there's not much market interest in it, or it costs more actually than the direct cost to build, we would probably not build that house, and we'd probably get another architect, or one of these, a couple of these designs were really popular, we would build more of them than we would several of them. So what you basically have is you have 17 pads, you have the 2 condominiums on the top floor of Wolfner, and then on the north side, we basically have the 10 single-family lots, and those are pretty much straight single-family lots. We haven't quite figured out how we want to incentivize the buyer on the architectural fees, but we'll put together a list of architects, and if they use one of them, we'll help them subsidize either the purchase of a lot or the architectural fees. And so each one of those, pretty much at this point, would be a single-family lot where if they want to put a patio in, they want to put a pool in, they're going to want to design their own backyard. So we don't know where landscaping would go because they can move their houses around on the lot to a degree based on the architect. And so if you come in here and you say, okay, I'd like something bigger and more expensive, and I don't like this 2-story model, then you could go purchase a lot on the north side and build a custom home on the north side of the street. This is our current concept for the apartment building, which we did not have last time we were here. We are conscious of the cost of it and the cost engineering of it. What our goal has always been, as you'll see, and I think plans, what we wanted to build here was always something that had all underground parking, with the exception of there's like 5 spots out here across the street for maintenance and guests. But you don't have any surface parking on any of the site. These are all garages. Every unit gets a 2-car garage, and we actually have more capacity. If you need 3-car garage or 3 spaces, we can sell you a 3rd space. So on this building, what we've done, and if we alter the design and we something different, the concept's the same, all underground parking. This part of the building, we want it to be roughly the same height as Wolfner, so we don't want to dominate it, and then we can rise to the back. And this is 4-story, and this is in essence 2.5-story here at the front. We've got we're at that point where we haven't bid it out yet either, but we're excited about the architecture of it so far. So at this point in time, we have 8 or 9 different architectural firms that are either working or have worked on the site, and that's what, to a great extent, is exciting because of a lot of the different artistic and architectural input that's gone into the project to date. There's a lot more I can cover, but I think that's the basic questions.
Why don't I conclude the review, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. These are just the images of the 4 official display homes to be built. Drawings of the Wolfner building, which again is currently being built. the current conceptual design of the parking. In terms of the review of this development plan, there's basically three elements. Remember again, back in January, you approved the sketch plan. That was approved by ordinance. The development plan has basically three requirements, and that is that 15 items of information need to be submitted. Those were all submitted to us. 7 standards need to be met. Those were met. And the last item is that the development plan must be in conformity with what was approved in the sketch plan. That sketch plan, as I remember, as I mentioned earlier, included one condition, and that condition verbatim is listed there. The petitioner shall provide adequate buffering or screening along the perimeter of the development site, and that compliance with this condition shall be documented by the petitioner in the development plans. Well, the applicant forgot to do this, or I'm not sure exactly how to characterize it. It didn't include it in the development plan, which is not good. So, with that in mind, planning staff is recommending that the development plan be approved, but with the condition that the applicant subsequently revise this development plan. The plan is never coming after its approval, and would note where that buffering or screening will be provided along the perimeter of the development site. And those sites are are listed there. Either fencing or masonry walls would be located along the rear property lines of all the parcels located on the north and south side of Ballard. Let me just refer to this map. So where I'm talking about is along the alley here, and keep in mind the fencing or the masonry wall wouldn't be continuous because you've got all of these garages here, but essentially it would help define that particular area. The other sites would be next to the Kappa fraternity house, next to the property adjacent to the development site, and adjacent to that single-family house, historic single-family house with the large side lot. So again, the applicant would have to come back, revise his development plan to note where those walls and fencing would go. It would also need to correct a square or acreage figure that was incorrect in the development plan. The site is 5.2 acres. For whatever reason, in a number of different places, it was listed as being nearly 8 acres size, so that's incorrect. And also, the development plan included a parcel that is not part of the PUD site. It's not included in the sketch plan. So there's some revisions that need to be made to the document. And the importance of this is, if approved by the Planning Commission, many of these drawings will be forwarded to a number of different city departments, the zoning section, the building division, the Board of Public Service, and those will be the regulations that those departments will adhere to in terms of allowing building permits and compliance. We want to make sure everything is correct before this moves forward. And then, as I mentioned, if approved, we would go ahead and notify those city departments, and the applicant would be able to go forward, even though the site does not meet the various regulations of the underlying zoning district that it's located in. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Steve obviously can add more about the development project and answer any questions you may have.
Okay. As we do, I'll be asking the commissioners on the phone in a moment for questions. Let me ask this, Roman. What is the remedy? I understand there are things that need to be changed to the plans if approved. What's the remedy if it's not done?
Well, if you don't,
If they're not, no, I'm saying if we approve it and the developer does not meet these goals, what is that remedy? Where's the recourse of that?
well, you're not going to be able to get a building permit because some of this information won't be correct. Our job is to provide accurate information to the various city departments. If it's not correct, if the site isn't correctly shown, that's not good. And the other thing is that it would be in violation of the approved sketch plan. So we basically said that the applicant has to show us where that buffering or screening is to occur. He didn't include it in I shouldn't characterize it, the firm didn't include it in the development plan.
So I understand I just want to be sure that if we're approving something with an exception, that there is a remedy at the back end if it's not done. That's all I wanted to have clarified at this point. So, all right, with that, I'll first entertain, questions from Commissioner Reed on the phone, if she has any.
I do have one question. So just so I understand, if the Planning Commission approves this today with all of those conditions, does it come back to us again once those conditions are remedied? Or is this the last time we see it?
No, we'll make certain that those changes are made, and then we'll forward those memo with various drawings to the city department staff. This will be the last time. You'll have to rely on our to make sure it gets done.
Okay.
We wouldn't have brought this up if we didn't want to pursue it, obviously.
I understand, but I appreciate that, Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Young, your questions, please.
No questions.
Okay. We'll go around this table. I'll start with Commissioner Brennan.
What is the estimated cost of the single-family residence, the range of them?
About, the ones on the south side are about $300,000 to about $600,000. And the north side, they're bigger, so it's what somebody would want to spend. Now, we could actually end up building some of the same models on the north side.
Commissioner Peoples?
I have no questions.
All right. Commissioner Boyd?
And these are 1 and 2 bedrooms, right?
The three of the models are all, take that back. One's 2-bedroom, 2 or 3 bedrooms, and the other 3 are 3 bedrooms.
And the typical 1-bedroom, I think I remember, 690 square feet.
No, there are no 1-bedrooms. The smallest one's 1,000 feet, and it's 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. Yeah. How much for a 2-bedroom?
It's about $300,000, $300.
And so the 3-bedroom, I'm not that fast in math.
Let's see, the next one up would be 1,400, so that'd be about 420.
These are market rate?
Oh, yeah, they're all market.
All market rate. And are there any incentives in the project?
Only if we have them. We haven't talked about it yet.
Did I see it went to HUD? Did you have a redevelopment plan to go before HUD?
It's already out.
That's part of
Oh, that's just a sketch plan.
that's part of the ordinance.
Were you anticipating tax abatement?
Oh, yeah, no, we are. Yeah, we do have tax.
You do?
We're going to get tax.
Okay.
This is located in the Banner Spring, Chapter 353,
That
which was
continues.
approved probably a dozen years ago.
Oh. For tax abatement or just a redevelopment plan?
The redevelopment plan was approved a dozen or so years ago.
So when's it updated for the tax abatement?
I think it's had tax abatement.
From the
From the
concession?
beginning. Yeah, because it established Cardinal River and a variety of other.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. No further questions?
All right. Commissioner Bennett?
No questions at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Manchin?
Yes. So, I think the last time you guys were here and you presented your plan, a few of us were concerned about what the experience is going to be for someone coming down Olive, whether you're going to be seeing a bunch of blank walls along this street or whether it's going to be fenced in and feel like sort of a community that, a gated community, so to speak. So, can you speak about that a little bit more? Are you going to have, because I don't remember, I'm sorry, is there going to be a fence along the front, at least on the south side of the street of Olive? And then what, like, the way these are oriented, what are you going to be seeing from the street? Are you going to be glazing? Are you going to see front doors? Or are the doors all oriented inward towards the development?
Well, part of it would depend on who selects which display for which pad.
Yeah.
There are no fences at the street.
Okay.
There are 3 recessed areas where you have fencing like you would in any other secure courtyard in the West End where the mailboxes entries are. There's 3 of those, which I can point out, that are recessed. And there's fencing back between units. Then there's also the two small parks up there that are open to Olive. And so those,
Steve, you may want to show that on.
Yeah, can we?
In the next one. I think that's probably the best drawing.
So there are two private parks because they're owned by the homeowners association. The city doesn't want them, but these are open to the street.
Okay.
And then, you'd have, depending how this guy builds, you are going to have a fence back here. The three little entry areas here, here, and here, you have, mailboxes or call center here back with gating. So, you have, besides Walter, you've got 5 buildings that will sit on the street. None of them will be the back of the building, but they are going to have, once they sit out there, they're going to have their patio. We don't know which side they'll have their patio on.
So assuming there's a front door and a back door, those will be on the sides of the building, not one facing the street, one facing the garage, most likely?
It's what the buyer wants. If they want to do it on the
So they
street.
can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And some, I think, will want to be on the street, but, others may not. They're parking all back here in the garage. Now, their guests are all parking up here, traditional street parking. So, if you have a guest, they're going to come in here, they're going to come in here or back there.
So, all of these sites, the buyer has the option to change the orientation of.
Yeah, we'll veto it if it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense, but the paths are bigger. You see, these paths are bigger because this is a smaller footprint than this one. So this is the 1,000-foot house. So you could put the 1,000-foot house here. You could slide it up here. You could slide it over here. You could slide it back here.
Right.
And some of the houses are designed with patios on 2 sides, which, even though, in the price range, one of our concerns is just the cost of building 2 patios when in the price range, 1 patio would suffice. But that's what's kind of, and this is the 2-story, and so you could have, right now we're planning on, there's probably 4 or 5 of these interdispersed, as you see over there on the model. And these are actually the dimensions of these first 4 that mimic those. This is kind of a zigzag. This is 1,000 feet. This side is kind of living room, kitchen, and this side is bedroom, suite. And then this is the 2-story where you've got, you can have patios up at the second floor, even though you already have you already have a patio.
Yeah. And on the north side of the street, is there a limit to how far back the houses will be able to be set back from the street?
We haven't set one. I don't know anybody would want to, I don't know why someone would want to lose the backyard space completely and ram this up against the garage. I don't think we'd, again, these are single-family lots, and so one of the reasons we're doing the PUD is if there is some really interesting architectural design, we'd have the flexibility to do things.
Yeah, I understand that. My main concern is if you're walking down this street and you lose any sort of sense of the streetscape because you have these buildings which are either way far back off the street line or you have something that's totally introspective and all the doors are facing the courtyard and it looks like you're looking at the back of a wall or a side wall, and on the other side all these streets are off the street, sort of like they're afraid to touch the street. So that's my main concern, is that, you have this development, which I think is a super awesome concept, and I praise the ingenuity of that, and I think it's especially awesome that you're engaging all of these architects, being an architect myself. But that's my main concern, is that you're going to end up with something here. Are there precedents of this type of sort of site plan around in other cities that you know?
We haven't found one.
Okay.
No, I mean, we're, this is pretty different.
Yeah. So on one hand, I want to encourage that, but on the other hand, there are some sort of tried and true principles of urbanism that you want to stick to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, here, these pads are up at the street.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, I guess we could say we wouldn't allow somebody to put their house way back there because we wouldn't want that either.
Right.
I mean, again, I don't anticipate it, but we don't know. But one of the reasons here is that we subsidize these lots is because we're getting something that we think contributes to the streetscape, and we just won't accept, they have to pick an architect, or they have to come in with an architect and a design, and we're going to say, we want that on that site, and we'll subsidize, we're not setting these up with a broker and selling lots to anybody that comes along. Right. After we do all this, we are not going to mess up the north side.
In your lighting plan, I see that you have pedestrian lighting along the south side of the street of Olive, but then there's sort of a gap where you have some lighting in the public park areas, but it doesn't continue along the sidewalk.
Both on lighting and landscape, and this is where, because of the unusual nature of this, and there having been a PUD in a while, we put only the basic lighting and landscaping in here. We knew for sure we could commit to, because under the PUD, that's what we have to do. But we can't do the lighting or the landscaping until we know where these buildings are going to be on these sites.
Yeah, I'm not as much concerned about the landscape. I'm concerned about sort of a gap in the pedestrian lighting along the south side of the street where you have these two parks there.
We're gonna do it. We just haven't designed it yet because we don't. Again, we can't put one right in front of the building either. So we want to space them.
Jake, are you referring to that gap there?
Yep. That's what I'm referring to. Is there a reason why the pedestrian lighting just can't continue all the way along the street, and then you have a few extra lights in the park?
Not along the street. Are those street lights? I thought those were city lights at the street.
It's your drawing. I think we elaborated upon it, but.
Yeah.
Well, I would strongly recommend that they continue along.
We want them to. We can commit to put two. I just don't know that we know exactly where we want to put them yet until the houses are determined. Right.
And then one of my last questions, you mentioned phasing. So, you have these model units, but someone coming in to buy a house can build on any one of these lots off the bat, right? Or are there certain sections that you're trying to build first before?
When we build these, if somebody says, I want this one, we're not going to build it until we build, we're not, in some places, we can't just build one here. We have to somewhat phase it just from a pure construction standpoint.
Okay. So there won't be one built here and then your first three will be there, and there.
No.
They'll all be in the same general area.
Right. And if they want that, on the other hand, if they want to buy it, they just have to wait.
So in addition to these four, you anticipate other architects coming in and perhaps doing some additional design that won't just be these four scanning throughout, or is it?
I don't know. We haven't talked them out. These are all. There are some unusual features with each one of them, and there's a lot of steel in this one. It's a little falling water sort of a thing. And if one doesn't sell, then the question is, do we just keep selling three, or do we bring in another architect on a fourth? Where most of the architects are going to come in, and I don't know if I brought a book last time, we put a book together of an additional group of architects. where we see most architects are coming in on the houses for across the street. So here, maybe we'd introduce one or two more, maybe, but it just depends how these sell.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we came in, this was an option of being a two-story, one unit, or two condos stacked. But we couldn't, logistically, we just couldn't get it to work from a Chase standpoint, from a structural standpoint. With two units, we couldn't meet code. So I thought I had 2,000-foot units, and now we just have 1,000-foot units. So if we'd introduce anything else, it'd be another smaller one, because this is, I think, 1,400 and 1,600, and this is 2,200. So probably for introducing, we'd introduce another smaller unit into the mix, just to give a buyer a lot of choices.
Commissioner Barnes?
Are you done?
Yeah.
I'll only say that because he said one more question. That was two questions.
I would just echo what Commissioner Dan just said about the urban design of the site. I think that, I would encourage you to pay real consideration to how it's designed in this context, in the urban, in the neighborhood it's in, and how it interacts with the street, visually and functionally. I guess, and I know we're not an architectural review board, but my question is, if these are the spec models, I see they're all brick, they appear to be brick. Was that intentional? Was that a requirement? Or, I guess where I'm coming from is I thought that the way it was initially concepted and expressed to us is that there's going to be a wide variety of architectural styles and approaches and execution, because it represents all these different, architects from around the world. But it seems to me there's an awful lot of sameness. There are a lot of features in common. There's not a wide variety of styles. They all kind of fall into that same kind of boxy template. And I just wanted to know if that's something that was required, that they have to fit within a certain material guideline, or what?
No, well, in the material, we pretty much said to them, there's one house that's got some stucco lower in brick, but otherwise they're mainly brick. Because of Wolfner and because of the brick, the plan is that we've talked about is that the brick color changes as we go this way. There's no gradation of gray and, but there's the building's changing color. That's the difference we're talking about the brick. The look, it's difficult to, when you talk about you're going to build one-story house, a small house, there aren't a lot of things you can do with it and still make it saleable and economical. Mm-hmm. And all four of these took a different approach, because you can try to go up and break it up. So that's all clear story on the far right. That's not a second floor. That's all clear story. It's just two-story skylights that look, or clear story windows that look down onto the kitchen and other space. So that's the one solution. The second one up here is really to try to take the boxiness out with the chimneys, high parapet wall, commercial windows. The zigzag is another approach, and then cantilever of twisting the unit. So, I mean, that's one of the challenges to come in with, even on cost basis, is how else do you take 1,000 square foot one-story house and make it functional? There's not a lot of things you can do.
But if one of the architects were to have, rendered a all glass and steel or a concrete, some different material that wasn't brick, just kind of ultra contemporary, minimalistic, that you see in some other parts of the city or different cities. Is that something that would be considered just for variety's sake?
So a couple things. The overall project architect is Tatiana Bilbao out of Mexico City. And so her concept is to pay homage to brick. I mean, that's her idea for the whole thing. And actually, when we tore down this back building, we saved all the brick, and we're going to do two things with them. We're going to use the full bricks as a part of the fencing, and then all the bricks that are pieces, we're grinding all of them up, and you can see there's a big pile over here, and putting them in the sidewalks. And so we're using everything from the site for that part. The problem, the difference between this and a custom house is how do we make this affordable and sell, not to just one house, but how do we sell it to the public over? And so it's a major cost issue, and it's, talking to sales agents, what can we sell? We don't want to build one and just never build a second. I mean, our goal is to kind of show that we can build houses that are somewhat affordable and that more than one person wants them. And that's, a lot of that's guided by the sales agents too. So, I mean, that's what makes this different than, custom home or even like Columbus, Indiana, where each person designed to build for their own use. And here, what's the general public want? More than one. And that's been the challenge. And actually, that's one of the reasons I got involved is how do we come up with something that's different and yet make it affordable both cost-wise for us and the market cost.
With that, just the last point is that I would echo this, keep in mind the Worcester building as your 1 acre, the residential home that's historic on the other end as your other acre, and it looks that we have to create this cottage. We're creating this neighborhood. I just want to be sure that they're not outliers in this other design, because they become really your gateways to the neighborhood. So with that, Commissioner Boyd?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of got confused. I just want to make sure I'm clear, because this sounds like a social experiment or architectural experiment. I understand the premise of PUD, because you can cram a lot into a smaller space. You don't have to adhere to all the regulatory stuff that most people have to, as well as zoning laws. But what I'm hearing is a bunch of different architects could pick out a pad and create whatever creative house they want to.
No.
There's actual building criteria for these homes.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. As a developer, if we think they've designed something that the public isn't going to want to buy and that we can't afford to build, we got rid of the one architect because we got 5 smokestacks on the top of that one right there.
Right.
So as a homeowner, I'm thinking the architect's design, not the architect's is putting a random design up out of the 3 you've approved. Am I correct?
Yeah, but those are just starters, right? There could be some architect from Asia that comes in and say, "Hey,
No. We are picking Tatiana Bilbao, who's again the master architect. She's helping us pick architects that she thinks can do, moderately affordable housing, and come in with a design that works. And then we approve them. But everything about these houses we approve, and we're not going to build one unless we think we can sell it to the public more than a couple times.
You mean moderate market rate?
Yeah.
Not affordable, because these are.
Right, no, that's why I said moderate. No, but
moderate and affordable.
But if you build on a lot,
$300,000 not affordable.
Yeah, but if you build on an infill lot in the city of 2,000 feet, it's hard not to have it priced below $400,000. You just can't do it. It's very difficult on the market rate.
You'd have to do it in my neighborhood, and then it would be affordable because you'd have all these subsidies and sell it for $120.
Yeah, right.
But so for consistency, going back to what you were saying, so on ours, there's no assurance that every front door would actually face out. Is that correct?
Correct, that's correct.
Why wouldn't we do that in an urban setting? Why wouldn't we make sure that on the streetscape of all the houses that whether they sit 5 feet from the back 5 feet from the sidewalk, or 20 feet from the sidewalk? Why would we not want to assure that the front door faces the street like it does within that neighborhood off of Olive?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of houses in the city where the front door doesn't face the street. And certainly in the West End, there are a lot of doors that you come in and they enter on the side.
That must be where the rich people live.
It's,
I don't know that many. Where's that neighborhood?
well, I can think of a, you nodded, I mean,
A lot of
Is
Ben
that a
Park,
gated neighborhood?
No, Ben Park West, they have a lot of them that enter on the side.
Okay, so let's take Midtown. So in Midtown, or they're on the side of the house?
well, that's what's kind of interesting about this block, that we have virtually nothing around us, that we are not a part of the neighborhood today. We really aren't.
But you still have streets north and south, east and west that's part of the neighborhood.
Well, this is all commercial entertainment this direction.
Okay.
You have all industrial and commercial buildings, the back of them all face here, and then you have Cardinal Ritter on that side.
Yeah.
The housing here, that you have this one block or kind of block and a half of Westminster that has, the Moolah Theater, and you have various buildings. Some of these are rentals, some of these are college students, some of these are single-family houses. So this is, one of the, so here you have a commercial fraternity, and you have Matt Foggy's house here, who's just, by the way, thrilled. His plan is eventually. Yeah, he is. I mean, he thinks that basically what this sets him up for is for doing an apartment building then on this end to anchor that in like this end.
I guess that's a good point. In my head, I'm always thinking urban. I'm always thinking as I drive down the streets. I don't drive through Central West End as much. I'm sure, like you said, there's probably some homes that happen from the side because they have a nice driveway, and then they just enter from the side. It's just a very interesting concept.
Well, part of our worry and concern is we have to create a neighborhood, because today, why would you want to live here?
Right.
I mean, this is a block, you don't have much in the way of services to walk to. You got this parking lot that's been pretty much vacated by AT&T.
Right.
And, Vandevanner is this major division of, since we've been working on Wolford, we've had 4 major traffic accidents at this intersection. And the cars end up here. And so, we have to create a neighborhood on our own, because there is no neighborhood here. And so we have to somehow create something special, something different, that people want to live here, because today, why would you want to live in that block? And pay a premium, which is what we need to even have this come
Well, let
forward.
me ask you this. Would you anticipate, because this is a odd space, would you anticipate closing one of the streets, closing off at one end so that you couldn't?
No, we'd never let us. We've talked to the streets department about a variety of things. No.
Okay.
I mean, all the Fox traffic comes, this is one of the major exits for all the Fox
So
traffic.
do you see this type of model fitting in other places in the city? It's
No,
so new.
I don't.
It's
I don't.
just kind of built
I
for
don't
this
see it.
environment.
I don't know of any other site where this would work, because you have surrounding residential neighborhoods that you'd have to fit into, and that's what makes this, but it has to be, I don't think you could come in here and just build, ordinary house. That'd be tough, because, again, there's no character to it. It's just, you got parking lot.
Steve, you may want to say a word or two about the origins of this development, going back to Vandevanner Spring redevelopment.
So when Grand Center was set up, the first master plan was this was going to be residential. So, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And so this has continued. And then when that Grand Center and I think the Midwest Redevelopment Corporation, and then when this separate redevelopment corporation was founded, this was going to stay commercial. You had Cardinal Ritter, a special use institutional, and this has always been to be residential. We started working on this project 13 years ago, and it's just been a challenge for a variety of reasons. And you noted all of the land that gets sucked up by the bioretention areas, because this sewer is over capacity, and they've made us take out more water even than, anyway, it's
We know he is.
So this is a chance to do something unique in St. Louis. I think it'll get a lot of national, international attention because I don't know anybody who's done anything like this.
Okay.
But,
All right.
we don't quite
I'm good.
fit everywhere.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve, let me ask you a question, then we're gonna move on to this. This is, somebody said experimental too, at best. What's your demographic for your buyer? And, because your crystal ball, what does your crystal ball say your sale rate is gonna be? Because this is a first generation buyer. The second generation buyer is gonna be subject to whatever they designed first. So what's the longevity of that home buyer in your mind? What do you think it is? Is it a 5-year buyer? Is it a 10-year buyer? Is it?
Well, so we have two markets, and we've already heard from some. They're millennials, but most of them are probably not going to be first time. They're empty nesters, and they're people that want to live close to Grand Center. They volunteer at SLU. They're 50 to 65 years old couples. For people moving from a bigger house, the fact that we have a full brand new basement, which you cannot get in a condo in the West End, for storage, that you've got this massive amount of space to put all your stuff that you can't part with. Then we have, we can park 3 cars in a garage, which you can't get, usually, but yet you can, what appeals to empty nesters is first floor master suite. You hear that all the time, where can I get just a 1-story house, first floor master suite?
So second time buyer, plus 50.
Yeah. I think we'll get more of that than we'll get some millennials, and I think, they stay longer than millennials do. The first girl we're talking to, she is German, and they live in Germany 3 months a year. But, a lot of them don't, a lot of them have a second place, so they don't need a big house, but they want something secure that they can leave, they can walk away from, but they don't want to be in a condo elevator building. They want to be in this.
All right. So, would you talk about your recommendation again?
Yeah, let me go back to the last slide. So we're recommending approval of the development plan with one condition, and that is that applicant subsequently revise its development plan after your approval. They would need to know where the buffering or screening would be provided along the perimeter of the development site. And as I mentioned to you earlier, fencing or walls along the alley here, along the side lot and single-family home here, the adjacent property that Olive West owns here, and the capital facility. And that 2 other items, that the acreage figure be corrected, and that the parcel that was incorrectly shown as part of the development plan be removed.
Can we add other conditions?
We can, yes.
How does the developer feel about the conditions for all the buildings that have frontage onto Olive Street? There must be it might be planned already, but a sidewalk to Olive.
Well, it's all within the courtyard. They'd all go to one of the 3 entry areas.
Oh, so they're all...
Yeah, so that wouldn't, so there'd be some sort of sense there, because, the site's got to be secure, we couldn't sell anything, so. Again, these are the 3 areas where they enter. So if you come in here, this one probably would have a side entrance, because this is the entry right here.
So unless for building 5 right here, they have a side entrance, they'd have to walk here and there to get out of the entrance.
Right, correct. Right, because and all 3 of these, are buzz-in locations.
So it really is a gated community.
It's like every community in the West End. You can't sell, particularly to females. I can list them all, but they're secure courtyards. Otherwise, nobody would buy.
So I would like to at least add the condition that lighting is continuous along Holland.
I don't know if that's actually our continuous lighting is not part of the lighting plan, that there is a lighting plan was included. What that looks like, though, I think is just a matter of structural. I don't think that's part of the PUD, is it, Roland?
Yeah, certainly, I just agree to it.
I'm saying, let's make sure.
As much as I'd like to take your word for that.
Yeah, no, I'm not just saying that you want it there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well, there's a lighting plan that has to be, is that part of the PUD is my question.
Yeah.
The actual,
Certainly, that could be added, whether it was an oversight or whatever. There is a gap there, and if Jake, just to make sure we're talking the same thing, you're proposing that some additional street lamps be shown in this gap.
On the sidewalk, not in the.
Right.
Yeah. Just along the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So we just want, so we're gonna add that, a continuous lighting scheme on
The south side.
South side.
okay. Does that address what you need?
Yep.
Okay.
But I want to add to, why would you not have them on both sides of the street pedestrian lighting?
We just don't know where the houses are gonna sit. I mean, we can do it.
Well, they can sit in front of a house. That's not abnormal. I mean, when I think of pedestrian lighting along MLK and along Clara and Burr, when we get to Artisan Road project, we have, sets of lights on each side of the street.
I'm just
They're in front of
wondering
people's homes.
what the city does and what we would provide it if the city does.
Because that would just look weird to me. There'd be no consistency with these nice, beautiful decorative lights on one side of the street, but they're not on the other side of the street as you walk. I'm just thinking about the architectural landscape of the street itself. It's kind of odd to me.
Yeah, well, the configuration is, right now is the sidewalk is like double wide, like a commercial. There's no green space on the north side for everything.
Like on Delmar,
Yeah.
by the pageant and all in
It just goes, you have tree boxes, of course, they can just put new trees in, even though MSC's gonna tear it all up next month, but there's no place in front right now to put it unless you, on the north side, because it's all concrete, I mean.
Right, there is no tree lawn there. It's a regular width sidewalk, and then immediately between that sidewalk and the curb is just like an extended sidewalk, sloped slightly. I don't know if that's a reflection of the fact that you can see commercial uses there.
I mean, we could put something on the building, I don't know, once people knew where their yards were, but we can't, there's no common place to put it on the north side.
I'm not an architect, that's just a bizarre-looking lighting plan to me. It's just my comment. Jake's an architect.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me, but.
I haven't seen it, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. So we've had the recommended plan with the addendum, the change in wording or added wording, recommended by Commissioner Benton for continuous pedestrian lighting on the street. So we'll entertain a motion if there is one.
I move to approve the redevelopment plan with the aforementioned conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If we may have a vote, please.
Previous roll.
Call for previous roll. Any objection? Hearing no objection, approve with previous roll.
been nothing there for a long time. I mean, I bought the ingenuity. I hope it works.
All right, with that, we have a gliding study, 99 on,
Commissioner Young, are you still there? Commissioner Reese? are you-
I'm here. This is
Okay,
Commissioner
Nicole.
Young, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I think we just lost Commissioner Reese.
okay. All right.
You still have a form.
All right, with that then, Roman's gonna cover our next one, gliding study.
Yes, this is a Chapter 99 blighting study and redevelopment plan for the 1900 to 34 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive and 1917 to 35 Delmar Boulevard redevelopment area. The site is 2¼ acres in size. It consists of 6 parcels. 3 of those parcels are located along Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. The other 3 are along Delmar Boulevard and make up nearly that entire city block located in downtown West. The existing uses are 3 vacant commercial buildings and 3 vacant lots. And there are actually 2 separate redevelopment projects as part of this development project. The first calls for the renovation of the building on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive for a food hall, event space, and office space. And the second development project calls for the renovation of the larger building that would be subdivided into 4 storefronts for office, retail, and warehouse space. As a result of having 2 development projects, we have 2 separate developers, 1900 MLK Partners and Midtown St. Louis Development Group LLC are both based in Kansas City. They have a couple of common members in the firm, but they're 2 distinct operations. As I mentioned, they're both based in Kansas City and were not able to join us tonight. So these are the 3 parcels that are facing Dr. Martin Luther King. On the left is a vacant lot. In the foreground, in the middle, is a 3-story commercial building that's vacant. There's a 1-story addition in the rear, and another vacant lot at the corner. This is a blow-up of the 3-story building, and the 1-story addition. As you can see, the building has a very elaborate facade, and again, this would be converted into a food hall with some event space and office space. These are the 3 buildings located along Delmar Boulevard. Left to right is a small vacant commercial building, a narrow vacant lot, and a 1-story vacant commercial building. That commercial building is blown up there, and again, this building is proposed to be divided into 4 separate storefronts. As you can see, it has 4 doors already, and that would be space would be leased for office distribution or warehouse space. That's a rendering that's supplied by the petitioner showing what that building looks like following this renovation. In terms of adjacent properties, this stretch along Dr. Martin Luther King Drive is located in the Martin Luther King Industrial Park, so there's a fair number of industrial properties, particularly on the north side of Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. On the left, you see an Ameren substation facility. On the right is a school building that was converted into apartments. On Delmar is a building that's used for commercial purposes as well as a flag company. And we also have a cellular tower, institutional use. The city's strategic land use plan designates the entire redevelopment area as a special mixed-use area, which encourages a wide variety of types of uses. And the redevelopment area is also located within the boundaries of the Downtown Development Action Plan, which was adopted as a neighborhood plan back in December of 1999. Again, since it was located in that Martin Luther King Industrial Park, the recommendation was for office, industrial, and distribution space. So the proposed redevelopment plan is in conformity with the SLOOP as well as the adopted plan. There's no use, no provision for the use of eminent domain. The developers own all 6 parcels. There is a provision for 10 years of tax abatement, and staff is recommending I'd be happy to answer any questions, and again, the developers were not able to make it. And
With that, first entertaining, questions from Commissioner Young on the phone.
No questions at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Bradley? No questions. Commissioner Peoples?
No questions.
Commissioner Vine?
No question.
Commissioner, Benson?
No questions.
Commissioner Penhouse?
No questions.
Commissioner Boyd?
Did we already pass this at the board level?
I believe it was reviewed by the HUD's committee, yes.
No.
But it has not been passed as an ordinance. It was public hearing. Yes, that's correct.
No further questions.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Can I call for your phone call, Commissioner? Okay, so we have a vote.
Thurman, Boyd.
Aye.
Commissioner Banton.
Aye.
Commissioner Bradley.
Aye.
Commissioner Peoples.
Aye.
Commissioner Penhouse.
Aye.
Commissioner Vines. Commissioner Young.
Aye.
Chair Strother.
Aye.
And motion passes with all present voting yes.
Okay, very good. Before we get to delegated items, I'm going to deviate just for 1 second, entertain a motion from Commissioner Boyd.
Yes, I'd like to move to place 038-19-RDR on the table. This is the Cass Avenue, 14th Street, O'Fallon Street, Hogan Street, Carr Square neighborhood plan that was before us last month.
Okay. Just going to move to have a discussion for including this, not to vote on the item. It was simply tabled until other things are. And let me put this in before we vote.
Okay.
There are people from Carr Square, we want to entertain the citizens since they made time to come out, to at least hear them, give them an opportunity to speak, and then when it comes back to us, because there's some information we're waiting on, we can then move on the item. But with this motion, we simply want to open it up so that we can give them permission to speak in the meeting. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Previous roll.
Call for previous roll. Hearing. No objection to previous roll. At that point, the Commissioner, if you would give us a minute of what we're talking about, just refreshing.
Right. Remember, I think her name was Emily. She came from McCormick and Barron. They were talking about getting funding from the state and HUD in order to redo O'Fallon Place. They were taking buildings down. They were building new buildings. I think it was 800 and something residents that are there now, and it's going to be like 600 and something once they complete the project. The alderperson was not comfortable with it at that time, and she asked that we hold it, and therefore I asked that we table it. She didn't feel there was enough public input.
Okay, because from our perspective, we simply did not have the alderman's approval letter.
Right.
Whatever that reason was. Okay. I just wanted to be sure we're clear on that. So why we didn't have it, I don't know. I'm just saying it was not with it, so we, out of respect for the alderman, we held it and tabled it. So what I'd like to do is if we can have the names of those here, and I'd like to give them a moment to, did all sign in for it? Because this is not a public hearing. It's simply giving them an opportunity.
Go around the room and then.
Okay, then what, yeah. So,
Okay, introduce themselves.
if you'd introduce yourself and then give us an opportunity, just your thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner, Alderman Boyd. My name is Todd Eel. I'm a lifelong resident of Carr Square Tenants Management Corporation. And I'm here to speak on the Plan 2333 that's been sponsored by McCormick and Barron Salazar. And the reason being is that I noticed in the plan he's asking for a tremendous amount of incentives, and he's asking for things that really the community didn't have no input in. One of the things that the plan is talking about is the choice neighborhood application that requires the citizens have input on it on a consistent basis. The plan deviated from that in certain areas of the construction phase that the community don't know about. Secondly, which was more importantly, he's asking for a 75% tax abatement on the project. And as a result, those revenues, those savings that the developer is getting, they're showing no indication of how that's going to come back to the community. The community has no ownership interest in the project. Community there's no plan in place by McCormick and Barron Salazar to ensure sustainability for the community there. And in addition to that Cost Western Management Corporation is also have ownership interest in the target area of development, and they've been completely left out the process, which is undermining the community, undermining the history, the culture, undermining the integrity of the residents that's been there for over 70 years. We've been in the community helping to bring about transformation for over 40 years. We're proud of what we've done in our neighborhood. We took it from reducing crime from 80% down to 50%. We want to thank our management for that. We have increased education in our community. We have, matter of fact, I want to say we got 5 college graduates coming out of our neighborhood today. We're proud of that. And we just think that this plan needs to be placed on hold. I think that McCormick and Burns Sullivan need to talk to the community, allow the community to have some kind of interest in its development. All the revenues that he's getting is coming from taxpayers. He's getting $30 million from HUD. He's getting money from affordable housing. Now he's asking for tax abatement. McCormick and Burns is a partner with Goldman Sachs, one of the richest financial institutions in the world. And we need to have some kind of ownership interest in and say so in this project. So I hope that the commissioners will hear our plea, and we hope the commission will instruct McCormick and Burns Salazar to talk with the community to come up with some kind of agreement on how we can help sustain with those savings that they talk about having. How can we sustain the existing neighborhood communities that's there? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Your comments are going to be added to the official record and will be brought up at the appropriate time if and when that comes back to us. Was there someone else that was going to be speaking from that committee?
Just for the record, my name is Gary Parker, and I'm also lifelong resident of Cost Square, and I also work for Cost Square Tenant Management Corporation. And I couldn't say it better what Brother Todd said. The community wants to be involved, and we've been left out. And we hope the city gets involved to give us the opportunity to be involved in the development of the area. We've been there the longest, and we don't plan on going anywhere.
Okay. All right. With that, we have heard the comments we've entertained the comments of the neighbors, of those that live in the community, so that we can were there any other comments? No. Okay. With that, then, we are not making any action on it because it was not appropriate to make action, but we did want to take your time, since you took your time, that you be heard. The commissioners, if this comes back before us, we'll take those comments in consideration, and it will be brought up because that was, I think, one of the questions. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you very much.
With that, I'll entertain that we close this just open discussion.
So moved.
It's been open.
Previous row.
Call for previous row. Hearing no objections, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, with that, then let's go ahead and move to the delegated items, and we've got 2 or 3 of them that Cecilia will talk about in just a second.
Yeah, just 2 of them were over $1 million, and one was under $1 million, just residential projects. These questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That under 10 seconds.
God, if you can sit down with I'm not gonna pick on Don because he's not here. Don is no longer gonna be allowed to even speak to the meeting. With that, we had a lot of information today, and I thank you for your engagement. I hope you understand the way I'm taking questions helps expedite, so we're not bouncing back and forth. This is through this information. Thank you, Alderman Boyd, for entertaining, bringing that up, because I hate for residents to come in the meeting and not be heard, inappropriately to be heard, even if we're not taking action. When that item comes back up, we will then kind of review their comments and be sure they are in sync with McCormick and Barrett's situation at that point. Any other business that needs to be addressed at this time? Okay, before we leave again, we did not hear Don. Linda is recovering. Doctor had approved her to travel, so they are in Cape Cod recovering. Keep them in your thoughts if you're a person of faith in your prayers. We haven't met since the Blues won, so congratulations, Blues St. Louis. Congratulations to women's soccer who won today against England. I'm entertaining a motion for the meeting to be closed. So moved. Seconded. Meeting is closed.